Hi there and welcome to chapter 3, lecture number 8. So in the previous video we added the sandstone texture and we also defined where the brick normal was and the plaster normal. And it was possible by using the color ramp data. We imported this into the factor of the mix node. So we mixed a rough plaster with the brick plaster. And to make this the normal not visible on the plaster, we used this output. So we did the same for the roughness. So there should be a good roughness value on the plaster and on the bricks. So far so good. What I'd like to do in this lecture is add a sandstone border on the as an overlay on the bricks. So to add a bit more detail on it. So to do that, we will add a different texture and a different UV map. And the reason why is because you cannot do that in the default UV map. But we will show you exactly why in a sample. So we go to UV map and you can see this is the UV. So in UV editing, you can see this is the map. So we going to duplicate it. So this is exactly the same map, but we call this sandstone. Sandstone. So nothing really fancy. So we go back to the shading. And what I like to do is duplicate a random image. And we click on the transparent layers. This image is included in the dashboard. So you import it, and it's now turned back to sRGB. So it was non-color data, but it always flips back to sRGB. Right. So we want to overlay this image on the sphere. So the next step is copy a random mix node, or you import one, whatever, and you put it right there next to it, and it will automatically clip. Then you put this color information in the bottom of color 1. So color 2 will be filled. And you can see the brick gets a little bit darker. And that's because this is a transparent image. And it now thinks to, it mixes 50% brick and 50% overlay of the sandstone border. So if you go to the left or right, this is what happens. So you can avoid this by using the alpha value into the factor. So now you have a nice overlay. But I like to size this a little to have it more in shape, because now it's very small and you can see also the normal brick pattern on top of it. So if we only had this UV map and we go to the UV editor and let's go to the render, or what you can do to speed up, go to material preview. It needs to load in the image, but it will all be sort of real time. So you won't have this rendering all the time. So you lose a little bit of detail, but for this sphere, it's not a big deal. So if you only have this UV map and you scale this down to the size you prefer, we want something like this. You can see everything is scaling with this border. So we have bigger bricks and sandstone. We just want to have a bigger border of bricks and not everything scaled. So with this sandstone, and you scale it, nothing will happen. I will prepare you, nothing will happen. And that's because we have to input this sandstone value in the texture. So we go back to the shading tab and we will, okay, so we're talking about this texture. We go to add, input, and go for a UV map. So what you can do right now is define what kind of map you want to use. So we do not want a UV map. That's always standard. We want the sandstone. So we put this output into this purple factor. Nothing will happen. But if you go to the UV editing now and you scale, be aware you have sandstone selected and not UV. Now you can scale it. Look at that. So I think we want to cover 2 layers of bricks. So we need to scale it a little bit more. So we have something. Let's zoom in so we have more control on this. Just a little more. Yeah, this will be nice. So we have this this little line on top and on top of that. Good. Right, so we have the sandstone border now, but there is still a little problem, and that is the brick pattern of the normal map is still visible on the overlay. So we go back to the shading tab. So in fact we will do exactly the same as we did for the plaster and brick. We need to add an extra mask for the border. And how that works is focusing on this area, because we want to focus on a normal map. So let's start by opening the normal map from the transparent layer. So for this sandstone, it has a separated normal map. That's good. It will turn automatically back to sRGB, but we want non-colored data. And we duplicate this normal map, this mix node. So Shift D, and we put this color information into the color. So it will not work right now because we do not have an input for the factor. So maybe the best thing to do, it's rendering, is go to the base color. So it's just a little bit chaos right now because the normal map is still split over everything. So we need to have an input for this factor. The color ramp will not work because this only stores the data from the plaster and the bricks. So we need something else that only defines the border mask. So I will import a new image texture that only has the mask. So we duplicate just a random image, but be aware it's non-color data. I think it will turn back to sRGB in a second. But yeah, it's this texture. All right, so automatically, go back to non-color data, it will use the UV map because that's the one what is always default. So remember, we created this UV map. We want to tell this mask that it's now using the UVs from the sandstone. And this one can be imported into the factor. But it's still not working well because the normal map also has the UV map as standard data. So the sandstone normal map also needs the right information. Okay, and now, and this is the final step, we need to flip the color because yeah, I just made a mistake to put it in the wrong input. So the normal map is now displayed on the border, on the plaster, and on the bricks, exactly how we want it. So we go back to the color, so we put this in, and we now have a sandstone border on the bricks, exactly how we want this. So yeah, this is pretty much it for this lecture. Done a great job. You can see the node tree is growing, and I hope it's still clear for you how this works. I introduced this UV map node to define if it uses a UV map or sandstone, and we mixed a different mask image. So two new things. And I hope you liked it. There is documentation, and if you still have questions about this subject, just drop it in the dashboard and someone will help you with understanding. This is a very important step as you're now mixing textures and UV maps with each other. It's the fundamental part of building a good material. So if this is not logic for you, just ask. It's important. All right, see you in the next lecture where we will work with displacement map. All right, and weight painting. So stay tuned. Bye bye.